Hey everybody, happy weekend to you. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a Bible study that my children and I were doing this morning. We were walking through Matthew 14 about the different miracles that Jesus did, all the healings that he did. That chapter is just chock full of all kind of amazing works of Jesus, and it's good to meditate on those things to remind us of the amazing works that he can and he will do in our lives as well. But when we got to the place we were talking about, when the disciples were asleep on a boat and they were in the storms, and they woke up to all of that, and they saw Jesus walking towards them on the water, and they were afraid because they thought it was just a spirit. But at the same time, when they realized, okay, it's Jesus, Peter said, Jesus, if it is you, tell me to come to you and I'll come. And so Peter, of course, you know the story, he got out and he began to walk on the water, and then he began to look at the storm and the waves and the fact of what he was doing, and he began to lose faith and he began to doubt and he started to sink. And he called out, he cried out, Lord, save me. And Jesus reached out his hand and he picked him up, and he told him, he said, Peter, why did you doubt? And I've read through that. The Bible is living and active. We see different things in it every time that we read the Bible again, and it's always refreshing, it's always new, and I love that about the Word of God. But this time as I looked at it, I didn't look at it as Jesus was rebuking Peter, by saying, why did you doubt, you have little faith, or anything like that. I looked at it as Jesus was in a really sensitive place and telling him, Peter, why did you doubt me? I'm always with you. I've shown you miracles, I've told you you can do these miracles, and if you will just focus on me, continue to look to me, and quit looking at the storms all around you, quit looking at your sin, quit looking at your lack of faith or whatever your struggle is or whatever. That's what he's telling us. Why did you doubt? I'm always with you. Just keep looking at me. Just keep walking. And so, that was kind of the word that I got this morning, and I was trying to express and convey to my children, and I wanted to express and, convey to you tonight. It's the same principle. We hear that preached from the pulpit, and we always think of the storms that come upon us, the shame that's inflicted upon us when we have hardships and we suffer an injury or problems in our marriage or with our bank account or whatever it is, whatever the storms of this life are. We're told to continue to look to Jesus, and we'll walk on that water. But it's the same thing. I have a lot of conversation with people about sin in their life, and sin is, it's what separates us from God. It's why Jesus died on the cross. And sin in a Christian's life can hinder their walk, keep them in a like a constant disciplined state. It can cause them to feel guilt and shame and stuff like that. And so I just wanted to share with you, the way that, now listen, I'm not saying I'm a perfect man by any means, but I don't struggle with any besetting sin anymore. I used to, even as a Christian, there were things that I just couldn't seem to get over. And the thing is, I would go about it by, reading self-help books about it. I would focus on my sin. I would try to, just try to conquer it, the best I could, whatever it was. And it was different things in my life. But over time, I learned this thing. I learned that if I just simply look to Jesus nonstop, not only for the hardships that came upon my life, I would not only walk on water through the storms and the difficulties in my life, but if I looked to Jesus instead of focusing on my sin, that sin would just fall away. It would just fall by the wayside. And I didn't have to conquer it because Jesus, not only did he already conquer it on the cross, but he gave me victory to walk as a conqueror. As Paul said, we are more than conquerors. So that was my encouragement for you today. When you're sinking because of your sin, it's one thing to sink because of things, that go wrong in your life, but we can get past that, those great difficulties a lot of times. We feel the presence of God. We expect the presence of God to help us to walk through those kind of storms. But when we sin, a lot of times we run from God, like Adam and Eve in the garden. We start to hide from him, and we feel defeated and we feel like we're not worthy. But the thing is, if you're God's child, you are definitely worthy. When my children do something wrong, I expect them to come to me. I go and seek them out even, and that's what Jesus is doing to you. So don't turn from him, turn to him. And in regards to sin, just continue to look to him every day of your life. Bring it to him. He already knows everything anyway, and watch those sins just fall away. My favorite preacher is Charles Haddon Spurgeon, and he was walking by a church one day, and he heard a preacher preaching. He walked in and he sat down there. This preacher looked his way and he quoted Isaiah 45:22, I believe. And the preacher said, "Look to me," quoting the words of God. Look to me and be saved, all you ends of the earth. I am God and there is no one else. There is no one besides me, okay? There's no salvation in anyone or anything other than Jesus Christ. Go to him. If it's the first time you're going to him, lay down everything. You give him your sin. He gives you his righteousness. And then we continue. Listen, I'm 20 years into my journey or whatever. I've always believed in God, so I guess I'm 41 years into my journey, and I still find victory by looking to Jesus every single day, okay? He is everything, okay? So just continue to look to him and watch those problems and all that weight that you carry, watch it just fall away. All right, guys, have a blessed weekend. I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye-bye.